Have you ever wondered why being completely alone can feel so uncomfortable? You can have a comfortable home. You can have food, money, entertainment, and a phone in your hand. And yet, after spending too much time alone, something inside you starts to feel wrong. Why? Why do human beings need other human beings? Why does loneliness hurt? Why do we naturally search for friends, family, neighbors, partners, and communities? And perhaps the most interesting question is this: what if our need for community isn't just a social preference, but something Allah built into human nature? From the moment we're born, we depend on other people. A baby cannot feed itself. A child cannot protect itself. As we grow older, we learn language from other people, traditions from other people, knowledge from other people, and even many of our values from the people around us. Human beings were never designed to exist completely alone. But here's where things get interesting. You can be surrounded by hundreds of people and still feel completely alone. You can walk through a crowded city and not know a single person. You can sit in a room full of people while feeling like nobody understands you. And you can have thousands of followers online, yet have nobody you can call when you're genuinely struggling. So clearly, community isn't simply about being physically close to other people. It's about belonging. It's about knowing that someone cares whether you are there or not. It's about having people who notice when you're struggling. And it's about knowing that if something happens to you, someone will come looking for you. But why would Allah create human beings with such a powerful need for one another? The Qur'an gives us an important clue. Allah tells us that He created humanity from a male and a female, and made us into peoples and tribes so that we may know one another. Think about that. Difference was not created so that human beings could completely separate themselves from one another. We were created to know one another, to interact, to cooperate, to build families and communities. And Islam doesn't leave this idea as something theoretical. Look at Salah. A Muslim can pray alone. But 5 times every day, Islam calls people toward prayer. And then once a week comes something even more powerful: Jumu'ah. People leave their homes. They walk toward the mosque. They stand beside people they may never have met. Rich people stand beside poor people. Young people stand beside elderly people. People from different backgrounds stand shoulder to shoulder. And for those moments, the differences that normally divide people become much less important. Everyone is facing the same direction. Everyone is worshiping the same Creator. Everyone is standing on the same ground. But why does Islam place so much emphasis on this? Because human beings influence one another. The people around you can change you. And that is where this becomes much more serious than simply having friends. The people you surround yourself with can actually help shape the person you become. Think about your own life. Spend enough time around people who are disciplined and their habits can influence yours. Spend enough time around people who constantly complain and eventually you may start seeing the world differently. Spend enough time around people who remind you of Allah and your own heart can be affected. This is why choosing your companions matters. Your community isn't just the people you spend time with. And there's another reason community matters: because life is difficult. Everyone eventually experiences loss. Everyone experiences fear. Everyone gets sick. Everyone experiences disappointment. Everyone has moments when they simply cannot carry everything alone. And this is where Islamic community becomes something much deeper than socializing. Islam teaches Muslims to care for one another, visit the sick, help the poor, feed the hungry, take care of neighbors, maintain family ties, support people in difficulty, give charity, and even something as simple as greeting another Muslim with peace becomes part of everyday social life. Imagine a society where people don't only ask, "What can I get?" but also ask, that changes everything, because a community becomes strong when people stop thinking only about themselves. And this principle appears again and again in Islam. You don't just worship Allah privately. Your faith affects how you treat people, how you treat your parents, how you treat your spouse, how you treat your children, how you treat your neighbor, how you treat the poor, how you treat someone who cannot give you anything in return.
And perhaps this is something modern life makes easy to forget. We have more ways to communicate than ever before. Messages can travel across the world in seconds. We can video call someone thousands of miles away. We can follow millions of people. We can join online communities without ever meeting anyone face to face. And yet, many people still feel lonely because connection and community are not always the same thing. You can be connected to everyone and deeply known by nobody. You can receive hundreds of notifications and still have nobody sitting beside you when life becomes difficult. So here's the question. If modern technology has made communication easier than ever, why can people still feel so alone? Maybe the problem isn't that we have too little connection. Maybe it's that we have forgotten what real connection actually means. Islam offers something different. It doesn't simply tell people to feel connected. It creates repeated opportunities for connection. 5 daily prayers, Friday prayer, family ties, neighbors, charity, visiting the sick, helping people in hardship, sharing food, greeting one another, and gathering together for worship. These aren't random social activities. They create relationships, and relationships create communities. But what happens when those relationships become strong enough to carry people through the hardest moments of their lives? That's where community becomes something much more powerful.
When community becomes worship. Think about what happens when someone disappears from a strong community. Someone notices. When someone becomes sick, someone visits. When someone is struggling financially, someone may help. When someone loses a loved one, people gather around them. When someone feels spiritually lost, someone can remind them. That is the power of community. But there is something even deeper. Islam doesn't teach that community exists simply to make our lives more comfortable. It connects our relationships with Allah. Helping another person can become an act of worship. Giving charity can become an act of worship. Being kind to your parents can become an act of worship. Looking after your neighbor can become an act of worship. Supporting someone during hardship can become an act of worship. So, suddenly, ordinary human relationships can have extraordinary meaning. You aren't just helping a person. You may be doing something for the sake of Allah. And perhaps that's the answer to the question we started with. Why do humans need community? Because we were created dependent on one another. We need people to learn from, people to love, people to support, people to correct us, people to remind us, and people who need us. But Islam takes that natural human need and gives it a purpose. It teaches us that community isn't simply about having people around you. It's about becoming someone who is there for others. So the next time you walk past your neighbor, the next time you see someone struggling, the next time a family member calls, the next time you enter a mosque and stand beside someone you've never met, remember this. That human need for connection isn't necessarily a weakness. It may be part of the way Allah created you. And perhaps the question isn't only, why do I need other people? Perhaps the better question is, who needs me? Because in Islam, a strong community isn't built by people asking what everyone else can do for them. It's built by people asking what they can do for everyone else. And that may be one of the most beautiful things about the human being. We were created to need one another, so that we could learn how to care for one another. And perhaps, when you really think about it, that's the part we often miss. Allah didn't create us to live as isolated individuals, each person looking only after themselves. He gave us families. He gave us neighbors. He gave us friends. He gave us communities. And He gave us responsibilities toward one another. So the next time you feel like you have nothing to offer, remember that your presence itself can matter. A simple greeting can matter. A visit can matter. A meal can matter. A conversation can matter. A helping hand can matter. And sometimes, simply being there for another person can be an act of worship. Because maybe the purpose of community was never just to make us feel less alone. Maybe it was also to give us opportunities to become better people. People who give. People who forgive. People who support. People who care. People who remember Allah while caring for His creation. So why do humans need community? Because we're human. We were created with a need for connection. But Islam gives that need something greater than simple companionship. It gives it purpose. It turns caring for others into worship. And it reminds us that while we need people, other people may also need us. And that could be one of the most important things Allah has placed within human nature.